Hi there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Just Knit Cutfile Studio. This is part of the 12 days of giveaways, and this cut file, Hang the Ornaments, is free on the site for one day only. So if you're watching this later on, I do apologise. It can still be purchased, but it is free for just one day. So actually I've cut this cut file in 3 different colours of green cardstock, and I've cut it twice on each 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and I've picked the colours of the cardstock to go with the Vicki Boutin Evergreen and Holly range. So that was the what I was thinking about. I'm going to use 3 of the cut files at the top and 3 at the bottom. So the ones at the bottom I've trimmed the ornaments off and just left the greenery, and the ones at the top I'm going to trim the ornaments off the top 2 layers but not off the bottom one. I'm going to leave them there. Each time that I cut it, I actually change the size just a little and make it so the biggest ones at the bottom, and they've got slightly smaller as they've gone up, but it's only marginal. You could cut them all the same. I just wanted to I didn't want to layer them directly over each other. I just wanted to move them around a little bit to make it look a little bit more like Christmas tree branches. You can see there that I was just trimming the ends off the top layer. I would say don't be afraid to change a cut file, like cutting the ornaments off if that's the way you wish. I mean, a lot of the hard work's already been done by your cutting machine, and these cut files are very inexpensive if you didn't get them free in the giveaway. And you can make them all your own. That's absolutely fine. There's no cut file police. You can do exactly what you need to. So as you saw there, the background is actually one of the Print Shop ones from the mixed media pad. I was going to do some mixed media, and then I actually remembered that I'd bought that pad recently and thought there might be some useful. I knew there were some greens in there, but I'd forgotten about this goldy yellow, and I think that really sets off the greens of the cut file. So I'm going through the Vicki Boutin Evergreen and Holly ephemera mainly, and the sticker sheet there, looking for bits to add at the top and the bottom. So I'm doing 2 horizontal lines is the aim of this layout, because I don't want to cover the cut file up. I'm going to do a little bit around the one photograph at the bottom right, and I'm going to add a little bit on the top left. And I was going to actually recut the ornaments in a shiny gold, something like that, but I found some ornaments within this range. I think there's one was on the chipboard sheet, the rest were in the ephemera packs, and I thought actually that would be a really nice way to hang those as they coordinate with the range, and they're all very similar. So I decided I was going to do that. So using a couple of papers from the 6x8 pad, I've just layered my photograph a little bit. I really like this poinsettia up at the top left, and I've trimmed some of the white off it. I just felt there was a bit too much white around the die cut, so I did trim it, and I'm actually going to add another poinsettia from the 6x8 pad paper just to add another layer. That way I can actually curl the edges of the flower and give that die cut a little bit more texture. So really, apart from 3 pieces of coloured cardstock for the cut file, which actually, I don't know about you, I don't use my coloured cardstock much. I didn't get rid of all of it when it became less popular, and I've used it mainly for things like this with cut files. But actually, I think that the effect that it gives, they're subtle, the changes in the greens there, but actually I think that's makes it look more realistic. I quite like the way it looks. I'm just coming in with some wet glue now, and I'm just sticking it down at the end and then in a couple of other places, because I want it to have still have some life in it. I don't want it all to be completely flat and solid. So it doesn't take too much glue because it's so fine to stick it down. So I'm just going to add that die cut over the top, and then the poinsettia that you saw me cut. Just a little bit of foam pad in between, just to add a bit of texture. I do like layouts that aren't really flat, but obviously I don't want them to be too chunky because I want to get more than 6 in an album. So I'll just try and find a happy medium that suits me, and but I do tend to add a few foam pads behind a few bits and pieces. So that's the bottom branches stuck down. So I'm just going to rough up the edges of the papers that I picked to go behind the photograph, just picked two literally randomly. I think they're ones that I'd already cut into. A yellow, because I thought it doesn't hurt to bring a bit more of the yellow in, as that's what I picked for the background. And there's a dark red there because there's no real red in that corner at the moment properly, like there is in the other corner. I do like that ornament hanging over the photo. I think it actually joins it all together. So you can just see me, I'm just snipping off the ornaments off the top cut file, ready for me to attach the die cut ones. So because they were quite close to the branches, I've actually trimmed them just to make them a tiny bit longer, so that there's no bits hiding behind the ornaments when I stick them on. So I'm going to just add a bit of foam pad onto the back of each of these, and they're at the end of the cut file. And I really like the way that this is looking. It's come together quite quickly. I don't know whether you find that some layouts just seem to do themselves, and then others I feel like it's a battle sometimes. But this is a really easy cut file. I think it would look really good in a Christmas journal, and it could be much smaller than I've made it for the 12 by 12. So I'm just looking at putting together some elements around the photograph. I really like the tag. I wanted to put a bit of journaling on there. There's some candy canes, very Christmassy, bringing a bit more of that red in. The word says twinkle lights, because if you see the tree behind me, absolutely covered in lights. And I'm going to use that light die cut, but not there. I do move it nearer the end of the layout. I would recommend you check out the 12 days of giveaways if you're at the right time of year. We do, Just Nick does it every year. This is my second year of participating. Really lovely to get 12 Christmassy, wintry die cuts for free. So it's a no-brainer really, isn't it? So I'm just going to stitch, as you can see, I'm just putting some holes in on the strands that are leading to the ornaments. So I'll put the holes in first. I'm coming in with some gold thread, which you can see there on the right. It's a gold embroidery thread. It's got 6 strands. It took a little bit of time to separate it. I'm using half. I'm using 3 strands. And I did thread the needle off camera because it did take me a bit to get the 3 strands through the eye. You know, you're just having a bit of a moment. And I'm just using backstitch just to run down that without catching it in the die cut itself, and then into the circle of the ornament. And I've done all those, I finished them off camera, and you can still see now in that image that they're shining, but I did that watching the TV. So a bit of die cut that I cut off, I just tuck back in behind the photo just so it's just in that side, and now I'm definitely going to stick down these embellishments. So the photo itself was taken on a day trip to Chatsworth House, which is in the UK. Beautiful stately home, decorated every year for Christmas. Myself and a lovely group of ladies, we go every year to see how it's decorated, take some photographs. We've all crafted over the years, and so some lovely photo opportunities. And this tree was absolutely mesmerising, covered in lights, and I had to get a selfie. So that's what I want to write on the tag, but obviously not so many words. So I've come back in with some more of the gold thread. It's still giving me a little bit of trouble because it splits, and I'm just going to put that in the top of the tag just to give another Christmassy gold look. And I think all that then ties in with the yellow stripes on the background. I do love when you can mix ranges from the same designer. Obviously, quite often they use the same colour palette, so this yellowy colour from Print Shop works perfectly with this Christmassy range. So yeah, do think about that if you've got more than one collection from the same designer. So that's where I like that die cut in the end. I think I end up putting it along the bottom of the photo, keeping with the horizontal lines, which was the original idea for the design of this layout. So there's quite a few gold stars, though. They were in the sticker book of the Christmas range. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of foam pad on the back of them and just add a little bit of gold to go with the stitching, just to lift it a little bit. And I think it definitely goes with the yellowy colour and just ties in. So it's quite traditional with the yellow, green and red of Christmas, but I think just tiny touches of blue. I quite like the blue ornament. I thought it went with the coat that I was wearing, and with the bulbs as well. I didn't think it would be very noticeable. So yeah, I quite like the way this is coming on. So I would recommend you check out these ranges from Vicki Boutin. I think mine were from Hey Little Magpie. It's a UK scrapbooking store. and I would recommend you check up the Just Nick, obviously to get the free cut files if you're in time. If not, have a look in the shop anyway. Cut files are being added on a very regular basis, and they're very well priced and very usable. There's also a design team. Have a look on IG, and lots of inspiration, not just for Christmassy layouts, but all throughout the year. There's literally layouts going up most days, so definitely worth checking out if you've not done that before. So I'm definitely coming to the end of this layout, just getting these stars in place. Try not to cover too much of the cut file, try not to cover too much of the background. So I don't know whether you scrap Christmas or wintry layouts. I do, but not necessarily. This is unusual for me to scrap a photo that's only about 4 weeks old. Because I do Project Life, which you might have seen on my Instagram, I'm quite happy to scrap photos from the 60s or any decade, if I'm honest. And particularly when the children were smaller. I love the magic of Christmas when the children were smaller. So, anyway, but this is a recent one to go in the album, so I'm quite pleased to have got this done. So I'm just going to use some white acrylic paint now just to add some speckles. So I've just covered up my photo there. That's an acrylic block that I'm using just as a palette. I do use a glass mat sometimes, but it's not to hand, so the acrylic block is being very useful. And just giving that a sprinkle, I wasn't sure how bright the white was going to be. Sometimes I've done this and it's been a bit too watery and you don't get the vivid white, but actually the way it's shown up on the dark green, I really quite like it. And this is the finished layout with the journaling on, just stating I was by a beautiful tree at Chatsworth House recently. Close-ups too. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely Christmas, and subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up, and check out Just Nick Cutfile Studio. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.